Okay, I don't know what just happened, but the internet just like clicked off, and it could be because of the snowstorms that are in the area. So I'm sorry I lost everybody. So if you're still trying to find me, come to this one, or watch it later. Okay, so where was I? I was talking about okay, the blaming, the shaming, the guilt tripping. So I'm sorry, I'm in an area where we just had a huge snowstorm last night, so this might be iffy. So I'll try to get to the meat of it as quickly as possible. All right, so you guys getting defensive. You don't want to get defensive. What you do want to do is you want to get curious. So when your partner or friend or a colleague or whatever comes to you and says, this happened, this happened, this happened, or I feel angry, or, or if they do the you guns, you're going to have to take a deep breath and go, they don't know how to communicate. It's all good. They're just expressing what they're feeling. And then, see what it is that they need. See what it is that they, need to heal the relationship or whatever. Get curious about it. Instead of getting defensive and getting angry, it's more productive to go, okay, tell me more. How can I help with this? Now, the caveat is if you are dealing with somebody who is manipulative and they're constantly, you did this, you did that, demanding an apology, blah, 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 you're probably dealing with a covert narcissist. So you're going to have to kind of learn boundaries, and you're going to kind of have to learn, is this, oh, thank you, Mystique. I appreciate that. Is this something I need to really apologize for? Or is this person being, a covert narcissist trying to control and manipulate through guilt trips and shaming and blaming and all of that sort of good stuff. So, okay. So, all right. Sorry. That just totally threw me off. All right. So I statements are huge. I feel angry, hurt, sad when this behavior happens. This is what I need. I need an apology, or I need you to clean this up, or I need, whatever. And then it gives the person the opportunity to hopefully go, oh my gosh, that is not what I meant. Let me fix this. Let me make this right. Let's work on this. Let's have more communication about this, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Oftentimes, though, like I said, you're dealing with a narcissist or an abuser when they get defensive, or when they immediately do the tit for tat. Well, you do it too. How dare you demand an apology for me because you do it too? Well, that doesn't negate the need for an apology. I'm sorry. It's like if you're learning stuff and you're working on stuff, that doesn't negate the need for an apology. But an abuser will say that because they don't want to take responsibility for their own emotions. Oh, Andrea, happy Valentine's Day, bunny. That's kind of what abusers do, is that they negate it, they tit for tat, or they get defensive. So you don't want to do that. So when you find yourself getting defensive, and this is tough, guys, because especially when we've come from a family where that was the norm, having to be able to go, okay, ego, take it, go outside. I don't need you right now. Okay, let me hear what's going on. Let me really clear that filter so that I'm not listening to all the family stuff. I'm listening to what my partner is saying, or I'm listening to what my friend is saying, or I'm listening to what my boss is saying, or I'm listening to what my coworkers is saying, without getting defensive, without going, oh my gosh, they think this, and that's what we do. So we've got to get out of our ego. We've got to get out of our heads. We've got to get out of that old family thinking when we're doing confrontation. So good, healthy, kind communication skills. You can confront somebody and still be kind about it. You don't have to rub their nose in it. You don't have to be mean to them. You don't have to be angry. You don't have to be anything. You just have to be honest. But honesty is a learned skill when we come out of an abusive family situation, because what do they do all the time? They lie like a rug, and they teach us to lie. And one of the things that I hear abusers say all the time is, oh, well, everybody lies. Like that justifies what they're doing. So, you've got a lot of stuff that you have to undo and unpack skills-wise, kindness-wise. Now, so one of the other questions I get is, what do I do if I've got somebody raging at me, a boss, a coworker, a spouse, a family member, whatever? How do I handle that? You gray rock. So one of the best ways I can describe gray rocking is poker face. Think poker face. Think you don't want to give anything away. when you're playing a hand of cards. Now, I am truly terrible at that when I'm playing poker because I'm playing with my family. So, but if I were playing with like, strangers, or if I was like, doing it professionally, you would not show any emotion. So you're not happy, not sad, not angry, not anything. So when somebody is going off, you have to be able to breathe, stand your ground, and Or what you can do is if somebody is inappropriately raging at you, you just put your hand out and go, I will not be spoken to that way. I am leaving. And then you turn around and walk out. You don't have to sit there and take it. When we were little ones, when we were dealing with crazy mom, crazy dad, the whole thing, we absolutely had to sit there and take it, but we don't as adults. But I'll tell you something, that fight, flight, freeze, or fawn kicks in, and that little one inside of us just goes, oh my God. So you have to really work with your inner child. The Inner Child Workbook by Glenn Schiraldi. No. That's the self-esteem workbook. Catherine Taylor, sorry. I told you, losing the internet just blew my mind. So the Inner Child Workbook by Catherine Taylor. Inner Child Workbook by Catherine Taylor. So you really got to start working on why. What's going on? Why do I freeze when somebody's screaming at me? Or why do I go into fight? So if your fight, flight, freeze, or fawn is the fight mode, you're really, because that is my go-to. That I will cut a bitch if I have to. You know what I'm saying? That's mine. But if I can't fight, my next one is flight. So when I'm sitting here, being confronted by a drunk or a, whatever, because in dealing with addicts, sometimes they will come to a session drunk. This is back when I actually had in-person sessions. I had one get right in my face and start literally they were yelling so hard they were spitting. And it was terrifying, but I had to really stand my ground. And I had to just, take some deep breaths, no emotion. And when they were done, I was like, okay, you can leave my office now. And they were like, what? I'm like, please leave. And that's what you have to do, because if you don't, they win. Does that make sense? And that blows their mind because they're used to people getting emotionally triggered, and they're used to people falling into that defense thing. So this is another communication skill we need to learn. You do not need to defend yourself. You don't owe anybody an explanation. You don't, unless you want to give them an explanation. But if you try to give an explanation to an abuser, you will literally have a deeper conversation with the wall behind me than you will with an abuser. So you don't need to explain yourself. You don't. But you know what abusers do? They walk up and they demand. Well, why did you do that? And why did you say that? And why did I don't know you anything. Have a nice day. Bye-bye. That is seriously what you have to start learning to do. So kind communication skills. Speak to yourself the way you wish you would have been spoken to. Speak to yourself the way you would if you were your own small child. I really want you guys to practice that. Like literally, this is going to sound crazy. Write your little one a love letter. What is awesome about that little child inside of you? Because they kept you safe. You made it to adulthood. Good job. They've kept you safe, but now, unfortunately, they're kind of using the same skills that they had when they were little, and that doesn't work anymore. So you have to work with them. You do. So little one, this doesn't work anymore. Let's try something new. This is going to be fun. How do we get kids to do things that they're a little bit scared of? This is great. Let's do this. We're going to learn new stuff. This is awesome. You help them. You help them. And you speak kindly to them. You speak kindly to yourself. Like seriously, like when I get up in the morning, hi, good morning. Have a great day. I give you permission to whatever it is I'm working on that day. Guys, I do the mirror work every morning when I'm brushing my teeth because I'm looking in the mirror anyway. I'm just talking to myself as I'm brushing my teeth. I'm not sitting there beating myself up, picking apart my appearance, worrying over every single gray hair, which would be kind of stupid because my entire hair is gray. It's like, do you see where I'm going with that? It's like you might as well use that time to speak kindly to yourself. And how do you wish that your family had spoken to you? Now, name calling. Let's talk about that. So oftentimes abusers will tell us we're stupid, and they really ingrain that, and it comes flying out of our mouths sometimes. So I oftentimes see couples engaging in name calling, and they're not even aware of the damage that it is doing. And then when they become aware of it, so they're in unconscious incompetence, relationship is falling apart, they don't understand why, you get them up into conscious incompetence. I had no idea that it hurt my feelings that bad. Seriously. And then you start dealing with the family history, and you start realizing that that's how the family talked to each other. And even though the kids are like, oh yeah, it doesn't matter, that's, that's just my family, oh, da, da. But if you really get them alone and really start talking, yeah, it hurts their feelings, you bet. So it's not surprising then that a couple will get into a relationship and do name calling and not realize the damage that is being done. You speak again to yourself the way that you wish you were spoken to, and you speak to others the way that you wish you were spoken to. You do not need to respond in kind. I think that is the biggest thing with confrontation that everybody doesn't quite get. They think that they have to match the abuser. Because remember, the abuser is screaming Mimi. They're like, ah! Up here. And really, who are the scariest teachers we ever had? I don't know about you, but it was the ones that got really quiet. Because you knew they were pissed. You know what I'm saying? It's like, instead of being out there, when they got quiet, you could hear a pin drop. And abusers don't know what to do with that. So that's also a good skill to have. It's like if somebody is just going off and drama queen or drama king and just, well, let me tell you this, instead of shouting over them, because you're never going to win. If you do a shouting match, that's exactly what they want. And that's when you get that recognition smile. So communication skills, good communication skills, involve owning our own emotions, not projecting them, not avoiding them, not shutting them off, not anything. I feel angry, hurt, sad when this behavior happened, and this is what I need in order for us to continue. That's a perfectly reasonable request. If the other person gets defensive, you get curious. Okay, so again, I feel this way when this behavior happens, and I'm wondering if you're going to address that or if you're more interested in being right. I know, it pisses them off. And here's the other thing I want to make sure that everybody understands. None of these good communication skills are ever going to work with an abuser. What the good communication skills are for yourself, for people that you know are healthy, happy, and whole, that you want to have a good relationship with. The gray rocking you use with the abuser, what I just did, is also something you can use with an abuser, letting them know, hey, here's the boundary. Are you going to deal with this or not? And if the answer is no, we're done, that kind of thing. So there that is. Okay, we are at the half an hour. Holy cow, after the technical difficulties, I am so sorry about that. So again, this video is for educational and informational purposes only. The views and opinions are mine and mine alone. If you are looking for a therapist, betterhelp.com/Chris Godinez. So that is that. Okay, on to the questions. Are we ready? No, we're not ready? Because we don't have because I usually have a teleprompter that I can look up, and he usually puts the questions up where I can get them. So if you guys have questions, I'm good. John? Yeah, hang on. Okay, we are on a hold. All right, well, let me keep talking then. So anger is going to happen. So when somebody gets angry, you really, really, really want to make sure to find out what's underneath the anger. What is underneath the anger? It's fear, or it's hurt, or it's sad. Anger is the bodyguard of the softer emotions. So when somebody is angry, or when you are angry, this is when you want to get curious. What am I afraid of? What am I fearful of? What am I sad about? What am I hurt about? That's what the anger is about. And that is what you want to address, not the anger. The anger is the bodyguard. The anger tries to keep us safe. It's these emotions down here is what's driving the anger. So when somebody, John does this to me too, especially early on in our relationship. When I would get angry, he would look at me and he would go, what are you afraid of? And I would just stop cold, because I realized, okay, it's not about the anger, it's about the fear, And so, we put these into practice, and this is a good thing to do. And you talk to your partner ahead of time. If they are healthy, or an abuser, this will not work. So if they are healthy, you talk ahead of time, these skills, these talking, these communication skills. Look, if you get angry, I'm going to ask you what you're afraid of, or what you're sad about, or what you're hurt about. So that way we can deal with the real emotion and not the drama up here. So you talk ahead of time with your partner. And in the book, Fighting for Your Marriage, this is where they have all of the, these skills. The other skill that I did not mention, do we have questions yet, John? We do? Okay. One more thing. The other skill that I have not mentioned is reflective listening. And this you can use with anybody in business, in personal, in, families, whatever. So when somebody is saying something to you, to make sure that you got the message and that you're not just in your head filtering it through all the past, you reflect back what you heard. Now, it's not like, Polly want a cracker, it's not like that kind of reflecting back. So say somebody says, I feel angry when the dishes don't get done. So you can go, okay, stop. What I heard you say is that you're angry and probably feeling hurt and disrespected when the dishes are left to pile in the sink. Is that correct? And then that gives the person the chance to go, yes, that's exactly what I said, or no, didn't quite get that right. Let me explain a little bit better what I want or what I need. And that kind of helps the dialogue. It slows it down. Because what happens in abusive relationships or what happens in dysfunctional relationships is an argument starts and it goes bam, 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 and then it's off and running. If you're doing reflective listening, it's like, here's the issue. Okay, wait a minute. Let me tell you what I heard to make sure that I got it right. Is this what you said and is this what you meant? No, that's not quite what I meant. Let me try again. Here's the issue. Okay. What I heard was this. Is that what you meant? And is that what you said? Yes, that is what I meant. And that was what I said. Okay. And then you can go from there and continue to do the reflective listening, and it slows it down. Remember, if you are in an argument to win, you've already lost. You've lost the relationship. Nope. Discussions. That's what it's all about. It's not about arguing. It's about understanding. So you want to make sure that no matter what you're in this discussion about, even if it's contentious when you're not agreeing, it's to understand. It's to get the other person's point of view and let them know whether or not that is a boundary and, what needs to happen in order to move forward. So it's not about ego. So remember, with an abuser, it's all about ego. And this is what we never learn, is that it's not about ego. It's about understanding. It's about really getting the information correctly so that we can move forward. So that's why the reflective listening is really important. Okay, are we ready to go to questions?
Sure.
Okay, hit me, baby. Whap.
The kind statements like "I feel sad, hurt," etc., are they to be used with people who don't care? And how do you communicate with acquaintances or neighbors who don't have your best interest in heart?
Ooh, okay. If you are dealing with somebody who does not have your best interest at heart, you're going to be very guarded. So it depends on what the conversation is. So in other words, it's like, if you're just seeing them, if it's just a casual, they're just, there, whatever, you keep it to a hi, how you doing? And you just go on with your life. If something is happening though, let's say you have a neighbor that keeps, doing something over your property line or something, and you don't like it, then you're going to have to use those kind of communication skills with them, but do not expect them to do it back to you. And you're going to have to really be a master of the poker face, the gray rock. So, let's say the neighbor is doing something over your property line and you're not okay with it. Hey, Dave, just wanted to let you know our property line goes this way. I really don't want you, doing that. And he blows up. Great. Okay, you turn around and walk off. Because it's like I said, you'd have a deeper conversation with this. But at least you have, with the wall, at least you have informed him of whatever. And then at that point, you either get an attorney to have them stop coming over your property line, or you build a fence. There are just some people that you are not ever going to be able to have a conversation with or to speak kindly to. There are, oh gosh, I've got this one poor client. She's got this literally crazy neighbor who picks fights over everything, like everything, even things that are not real. And so she's kind of having to, do the gray rock and, strict boundaries and just avoiding him when she can. And thank you, Sherry. So, it's you're not always going to be able to do that. I would always use those skills though, because let's face it, you're taking the high road and they are taking the low road. And you don't ever want to get down to their level because they know how to play in the mud. Let me just say that again. They know how to play in the mud. You don't want to be playing in the mud. You want to stay up off the ground. In Kung Fu, the most dangerous position you can get to is to be on the ground. You don't want to be on the ground. You want to stay standing. So same principle. So you don't ever get down to their level. You don't ever go down to the mud. You don't ever go down to the ground. You stay up here. Let them fight down there. You stay up here. So that's really something to keep in mind. Are they going to be reasonable and rational? Probably not, but at least you will have gotten out your point. You've said it with civility. You've said it, they're going to say whatever. I've also seen, especially with this one person I'm thinking of, this neighbor has gone on a smear campaign and accused this client of like a smear campaign, everything you could think of that was not even true. And they're going to do that. Why? Because they're disordered. They're narcissists. They're abusers. This is what abusers do. So expect it. And at that point, that's when you either, build a fence, build a brick wall, avoid them like the plague, move, get an attorney, do what you need to do. So there that is. Yeah. Next question.
Okay. What do you do after you say this? The kind, I feel this, I feel I'm hurt by this. And they don't say a word or change anything.
Okay. What do you do after you've done the I feel angry, hurt, sad when this behavior happens and this is what I need? What do you do if they just don't say anything or they don't change their behavior? All right. So let me be perfectly clear. Healthy, normal people apologize and then change behavior. Okay. So a true apology is, oh my God, I did not know that I was hurting you. Now I do. I own it. I'm mortified. That is not what I wanted. That was not my intention. Please forgive me. Here's what I'm going to do in the future to make sure this doesn't happen again. And then it doesn't happen again. With an abuser, they will do, like you said, one of two things. They will either ignore it, walk away, not interested, oh, you're a drama queen, whatever. Or they'll go, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, and then continue to do it. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, and continue to do it. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. So once somebody does something like that, either the rolling of the eyes and walking away, that's a disrespect. That's a disrespect. That's on my list of deal breakers. You roll your eyes at me and you walk away when I'm calling you on your stuff, we're done. We're done. I'm not playing. I'm not even doing a baseball on that one. Baseball, usually 3 strikes, you're out. No, this time it's like, you've shown me who you are. Have a nice life. Bye-bye. Do you see where I'm going with that? So when they do that and they continue to do the behavior, even though you've called them, made it clear, and this is what I love. And when I love, I'm polar opposite. This is when abusers get called out on their behavior, they will pretend that you never made them aware of it before, ever. This is the first I've ever heard of this. Really? This is why I'm saying, if you know who they are, if you know they're abusive, if you know that they are liars, if you know that they are gaslighting, it does no good to speak to them. It doesn't. I mean, Dwayne and I were having a conversation last night about people always make the biggest mistakes of trying to speak reason to their abusers, trying to get them to see reality. That is never going to happen. You never, ever want to have a real true communication with them, ever, if you can avoid it, because they will twist it and it's your fault, or they will take whatever and then use it as a smear campaign, or they will lie and say that they've never heard that before. This is the first, even though this is the millionth time you've brought it up to them, or they'll do the I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry thing, that kind of thing. So yeah, it just, don't. If you think you're going to change your abuser, you're not. They're never going to see. They have got magic thinking. They have got squirrels that have rabies in their heads. I'm not kidding you. It's like you are never, ever going to, boy, that was an image. You are never, ever, ever going to have them see reason. They're not going to get it. They're not. So you never confront them with all this stuff, because you've already confronted them with all this stuff, and they're never going to change, and they're never going to get better, and they're never going to have a V8 moment when they're like, oh my God, I've been a total jerk. I should have done something different. No, that's never going to happen. Once somebody has shown you who they are, believe them the first time. Believe them the first time. If you've said, I feel angry, hurt, sad, and this is what I need, and they roll their eyes at you and then walk away, or they go, oh, I'm sorry, real snarky. No, they're not sorry. They're sorry that you pointed it out to them. That's really what they're sorry about. And then you get away from them as fast as you can and as far as you can, and you go, no contact. Next question.
If someone is BPD,
Mhm.
do you have any recommendations on how to keep emotions from rapidly changing?
Okay. If somebody has borderline personality disorder, do I have any recommendations on how to keep emotions from rapidly changing? Well, here's the deal. Bipolar and borderline get misdiagnosed as each other. So you want to make sure that that diagnosis is in fact what's going on. So a great book for being in a relationship with somebody who has borderline personality disorder, because remember, borderline personality disorder has traits of all 10 major personality disorders. They also have the unfortunate psychotic thinking, right? The magic thinking, things don't really make sense, but they're connecting them to make sense, that kind of thing. There is a great book called Stop Walking on Eggshells by Randy Krieger. Great book. Stop Walking on Eggshells by Randy Krieger. There's a book and there's a workbook. So if you're going to be in a relationship with somebody, it's all about de-escalation. So a lot of times when someone is in one of those psychotic thinking kind of modes, they're ramping it up, ramping it up, ramping it up, ramping it up. And your only option is to be like Grey Rock and walk away. That's really your only option because you cannot speak reason to them at that point. When they're so wrapped up in the psychotic thinking, you need to de-escalate, which means going calmer, staying calm. And sometimes that's enough to send them out into outer space because they're angry that you're not matching their level. So you just leave. You just walk away. You just know when you're calm, we'll talk about this, and then walk out. So you don't allow them to hold you hostage to their psychotic thinking or to their ramping it up. You just don't. So Stop Walking on Eggshells by Randy Krieger. Get the book and the workbook. It is excellent. Okay.
So does that apply? Because somebody asked a follow-up question about how you deal with someone's psychosis. Is that the same thing?
Yeah, with somebody that's psychotic, somebody that's having a psychotic episode, you're not going to reach them. You're not, because their brains are going a million miles a second, and the thoughts are not logical. They're not linear. They're not. It's not something you can stop them. It's not like you can be like, stop, listen to me. They're not. It's like the psychosis is just like, really bad. So the best thing to do is, okay, talk to me when you're calm, or if they're really psychotic, if they're like self-harm, danger to self, danger to others, you call the crisis team and you have the crisis team come and deal with them. Absolutely. Because, the average Joe is not able to deal with this stuff. They don't have the training. Nobody trains anybody in any of this stuff unless you decide to go into psychology. So yeah, it's terrifying for the person going through it, and it's terrifying for the people who love them to watch it. So it's a really good idea to get that person into DBT, dialectic behavioral therapy, DBT, dialectic behavioral therapy. There are also some really wonderful DBT workbooks out there. So just go on to Amazon, look up DBT workbooks, and start working them yourself. It does help. It really does. If you can kind of like incorporate that into who you are, it kind of helps them too, because then you're calm and you're, not up, down, and all over the place. So DBT, dialectic behavioral workbooks, great. Get them into that therapy. They're going to need it. They're going to need it. They need it to help them emotionally regulate. That's really what it's all about. Okay, next question.
I'm hurt and feel lonely after getting out of a long-term marriage. I need some suggestions on which self-help book to start with.
Okay, I'm hurt and I'm lonely after getting out of a long-term marriage, and I need some suggestions on which self-help books to start with. And somebody earlier this week was like, time's wasting. I'm not going to get any younger. Which one do I start with? So I would suggest, honestly, the self-esteem workbook. The self-esteem workbook. When I say everything, literally all of the healing boils down to having a good platform of self-esteem. I'm not kidding you. So the self-esteem workbook by Glenn Schiraldi. I love it. Because think of it this way. We build off of having self-esteem. Once we've got good self-esteem, almost everything starts falling into place with just very little nudging. Really. So like if we really love ourselves, we're not going to put up with abuse. If we really love ourselves, we are going to start having good boundaries. If we really love ourselves, we're going to start speaking to ourselves kindly. If we really love ourselves, we're going to speak to others kindly as well. So really the best book to start with out of all of these books that I keep mentioning is The Self-Esteem Workbook by Glenn Schiraldi. Once that one has been mastered and you are able to look in the mirror and do the mirror work, hi, good to see you, have a great day. I give you permission to like yourself or whatever it is you're working on, and then you walk out. Once you're able to do that and it becomes a habit, like a good habit, then you move on to whichever thing you want to hit next. If that's the inner child work, woo, that would be a good one. Now, the Inner Child Workbook and by Catherine Taylor and CPTSD from Surviving to Thriving by Pete Walker, both of those are going to be triggering, which is why I often suggest you start with the Self-Esteem Workbook first, or you do it in conjunction with the CPT book, because you're going to want to kind of flip back and forths, because these books are heavy, guys. Because now we're dealing with the past. And it's heartbreaking to me to see people go, oh, I mean, no, don't want to deal with it. No. I just want to deal with here now. Well, if you don't deal with the past, your here and now is always going to be informed and directed by your past. You know what I'm saying? And it's going to run you. The past is going to run you. You want to handle that stuff. You want to get that. You want to put that bad boy to bed. You do. You want to pick it up. You want to work through it, figure it out, put the shame, blame, and guilt and the anger back on the people that it belongs to. You want to separate what is your stuff from their stuff. And you want to be mindful and you want to be aware and awake. Because then that way going forward, it's not your inner child picking the people you're going to be with. It's not your inner child running the fear. That's often what stops people is, oh my God, I'm so afraid. I'm afraid. I can't do it. I'm fearful. I'm stopped. I'm in freeze mode. Why? Well, how old do you feel? 4? Okay. We got to help that little 4-year-old not be afraid. You know what I'm saying? That poor little kid, it's like, help them. So you've got to work with the past in order for your present and your future to be healthy. Good Lord, I forgot what the question was. Oh, workbook, sorry. So yeah, I would start with the self-esteem workbook and then alternate that with the CPTSD one if you want to work on the abuse, from the abusive relationship, or the inner child workbook to work on your family of origin. So, and then you can also do the Disease to Please with those other 2 books. So that's what you do. And it is going to get heavy and it is scary. It is, because we're dealing with change. We're dealing with working on ourselves, bringing up all of the stuff that we went through. And a lot of people are like, no, it's too painful. I don't want to do it. Guess what? You already survived. It's just a memory. That's it. You've survived. You're here. You've survived. This is just a memory. This is all we're working on. It's not going to hurt you any further. It is going to heal you and help you to work through this. And yes, you're going to feel. But guess what? Abusers don't want us to feel. So the best way to give them the middle finger is to feel and to work on the past. So there it is. Hope that answered the question. Okay, next one.
I've been split up with my ex for a year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm feeling better.
Mm-hmm.
Started chatting with someone, and I'm taking things very slowly, but finding myself getting triggered easily. Any advice on how to deal with that?
Okay, I've been broken up with my ex for a year, getting better. Started chatting with someone, but finding myself being triggered.
Right.
Any advice easily, how to deal with that? That is totally normal, guys. So when we come into consciousness, right, and we're aware of the abuse and we know what's been going on, we understand what's been happening, and we're now hyper aware, hyper alert. Remember the PTSD, so that hyper alertness is part of that. We are literally going to be on red alert with everything, and we will be triggered easily. So that's part of post-traumatic stress disorder. So what you want to do is you want to figure out what the triggers were. So I would strongly suggest writing them down. Get a journal. Write down what the trigger was. How did you get triggered? What was said that triggered you? What were you thinking? What were you feeling? Where in your body did you feel it? Great book. Also, The Body Keeps Score. Bessel van de Kolk, great book. So where are you feeling it in your body? What was said that caused the trigger? What happened? That kind of thing. Where has this happened before? Where have you heard this before? That kind of thing. So you're kind of being your own analyst, So for me, a trigger for me is when I cannot get out of a place easily. So remember, fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. My first one is fight. Next one is flight. So whenever I go into a new place, and my nephew is the same way, we're always looking for where's the nearest exit. Where's the nearest exit? How can I get out? How am I going to be safe? So that's part of PTSD, So you got to figure out what is your fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, right? What are your top two? Because that's usually what we do. Mine's fight to flight. And if I can't do those two, I probably melt into a puddle of yuck. So what are your top two? Do you freeze? Do you fawn? What do you do? So figure out what the trigger was and then work back from that. Who else did that to you? Who else said that to you? What does that mean? Is this a red flag? Should you be worried about it? That kind of thing. And you kind of have to work it through. Sometimes our hyper alertness is just hyper alertness, but sometimes our hyper alertness is our gut speaking to us. So what is your gut saying about this person you're talking to? Is this a good person? Yes or no? Don't ask your head. Don't ask your heart. Ask your gut, because the gut never lies. The head and the heart tell stories. So there's that. Hope that answered the question. Okay. Next. Uh-oh.
I would echo back what my partner would say to make sure I understood that what he was saying. He would go ballistic.
Oh.
He told me not to repeat what he was saying because that's demeaning. That I do it wrong.
Here's the thing. So the question was, I would reflect back, echo back what he was saying to make sure I got it right to my partner, and he would go ballistic. Don't you echo back to me. You're demeaning, you're this, you're that. Whoa, where's that coming from, dude? You know what I'm saying? It's like, this is his issue, not yours. You didn't do it wrong. You absolutely didn't. Especially if you let them know ahead of time, hey, this is a new communication skill. I am going to start practicing it because I think it's a good idea for us both to do, that kind of thing. And if somebody's angry that you're trying to make sure that you're getting the communication right, what is that about? Because remember, abusers want us to always be wrong, always, which is why they hate reflective listening, because then they can't gaslight, they can't lie, they can't, I never said that, especially if you've done the reflective listening. Did I get that right? Yes, that's exactly what I said. Okay. And then if they do the lying and the gaslighting, you're kind of like, things that make you go, So yeah. So if they're kind of being hinky about that, then that's kind of a red flag. And you might want to ask them, what about you making sure that you're getting his message correct is angering him? What's the anger about? Now, with an abuser, there is nothing under the anger. There's no fear. There's no sad. There's no hurt. There is control. So it's all about control and manipulation for them. So yeah. Anyway, that's a little concerning. So you could ask, hey, I'm trying to do reflective listening. Why does that anger you so much? But if they are an abuser, they're going to come up with 100,000 million reasons why you shouldn't do it. So just be aware. Be careful. All right, next.
How do I deal with a mother or any parent who yells or loudly laughs at me to prevent me from speaking or holding her accountable? I'm an adult.
Okay, how do I deal with a mother or any person who yells or laughs in order to prevent me from holding them accountable? Okay, here's the deal, guys. You can't hold them accountable. You're not going to. This is what I was trying to tell you earlier. They're not going to take it. So what you do with them is you go no contact. You go, okay, you don't want to hear what I have to say? Bye. And you leave. You cannot appease these people. They will not hear you. You could be the greatest speaker on the face of the planet, eloquent and to the point, and they will never get it, ever. So when somebody does a manipulation like that, they're not interested in hearing what they've done wrong. They're not interested in making things right. They're not interested in making amends. They're not interested in, do you see where I'm going, and having a good relationship. You stop trying to hold them accountable. It's not going to do any good. So what you do is you decide, okay, what am I going to put up with? Well, I'm sure as hell not going to put up with that. So I'm just not going to have a relationship with them. And you go low contact to no contact, and then you start working on your inner child. Your inner child desperately wants to be heard and validated, and you're not wrong. So work on your inner child, because you have a right to be heard, honey. You do. And you're not going to get these people that are dedicated to not hearing you to hear you. And it's not you. It's not you. It's them. Healthy, normal people want to have a good communication and a good relationship with other people. We're pack animals. We like other people. We do, but unhealthy people, dysfunctional people, people who are abusers, they don't want to hear what they did wrong. They don't want to change. They don't want to get better. They're not interested. They don't want to hear you. They don't care about your feelings. Because really, that's what it's about, especially if it's a parent doing that. A parent should be interested in what their kid has to say, even if they're an adult. It's just common courtesy, but they're not interested. So you stop trying to hold them accountable. You cannot hold these people accountable, hon. You just let them go. Now, if somebody else does that to you that's not a family member and they're just like not interested in hearing, again, they've shown you who they are. Stop trying to be friends with them. Go low contact, go no contact, cut them out of your life. Start working on your inner child. Allow your inner child to be heard by you. You must reparent your inner child so that that inner child understands that that kid has a right to have an opinion, has a right to have a voice, and has a right to see the truth. And that you're not going to punish them for seeing the pink elephant taking a doo-doo in the corner of the room. So there's that. Hope that answered the question. Okay, are we at time? Oh, geez, Louise, we are at time. So, okay, so that is this week's thing. I hope everybody is having a good Valentine's Day. I hope you guys did not get the Valentine's Day hoovers and all of that stuff. Next week, I'm trying to think, what should we do next week? Let's talk about, I think this would be a good one. Okay, I want to talk about, since we're in divorce season, I want to talk about how to handle the ex when they are doing crazy town. So like they're sending you 100,000 million emails, they're texting you like crazy, they're smearing you, all of that stuff. How to help the kids, how to stay neutral, how to live your own life and not let the ex control you. So let's next week, let's talk about not being controlled. I think that's fabulous. Let's do that. All right, kiddos, have a great week. Thank you for tuning in. Sorry about the technical difficulties. And I will talk to you later this week with more questions and stuff like that. Okay, talk to you later. Bye.